Hi, everyone.
Greetings. We're starting Chapter 4 in Crisis of Conscience. Ray Franz has entitled Chapter 4, Internal Upheaval and Restructure. And he starts with a quote, which he has two versions of. One's from the New English Bible and one's from the Jerusalem Bible, and it's 1 Corinthians 3:21. So never make mere men a cause for pride. Or as the Jerusalem Bible puts it, there's nothing to boast about in anything human. The information the book Aid to Bible Understanding presented about elders doubtless began the process. Till then, congregations had been under the supervision of a single person, the congregation overseer. His replacement by a body of elders of necessity raised questions about branch organizations where one man was the overseer for a whole country, much as a bishop or archbishop has under his supervision a large region composed of many congregations. And the central headquarters had its president, to whom I had personally referred in addressing a seminar for branch overseers in Brooklyn, as the presiding overseer for all congregations earthwide. And he has a short footnote where he says President Knorr was sitting on the platform at the time and expressed no disagreement with the description.
Evidently, the apparent anomaly, the contrast between the situation in the congregations and that at the international headquarters, is what led to the tail wagging the dog talk and the Watchtower articles, since these endeavored to explain away the difference existing between the situation in the congregations and that at the central headquarters. It is almost certain that at the same time these articles were meant to send out a signal to voting members of the corporation that they should not try to express themselves through vote to effect some change in the headquarters structure, or to express themselves as regards the membership of the governing body and its administration.
The year of that talk, 1971, President Knorr decided to allow the governing body to review and pass judgment on a book entitled Organization for Kingdom Preaching and Disciple Making, a form of church manual setting out organizational structure and policy governing the entire arrangement, from the headquarters through to the branches, districts, and circuits, and on to the congregations. The governing body was not asked to supply the material for the book. The president had assigned the project of the book's development to Karl Adams, the overseer of the writing department, who was not a governing body member, nor one professing even to be of the anointed. He, in turn, had assigned Ed Dunlap and myself to collaborate with him in the manual's development, each of us writing about 1/3 of the material. We should note, too, that Ed Dunlap was not claiming to be one of the anointed either, so you've got key writing men guiding the society or guiding the brotherhood, and there's the theory of the anointed being seemingly challenged on the practical level, right?
Shouldn't they be writing the articles? The material we developed presented the relationship of the governing body and the corporations in harmony with the tail wagging the dog articles. When certain points relating to this came before the body, they provoked rather heated discussion. President Knorr expressed himself clearly as feeling that there was an effort to take over his responsibility and work. He stressed that the governing body was to concern itself strictly with the spiritual matters, and that the corporation could handle the rest. But as the body members knew, the spiritual matters allotted to them at that stage consisted almost entirely of the near ritual of approving appointments of largely unknown persons to traveling overseer work, and the handling of the constant flow of questions about disfellowshipping matters.
At certain points in the discussion, I expressed my understanding that other matters of a spiritual nature were likewise the responsibility of the body. I could not personally harmonize the existing monarchical arrangement with Jesus' statement that all you are brothers, and your leader is one, the Christ, that the rulers of the nations lord it over them, and the great men wield authority over them. But this is not the way among you. It simply did not seem honest to say what had been said in the 1971 Watchtower articles, and then not carry it out. In each case of my doing so, however, the President took the remarks very personally, speaking at great length, his voice tense and forceful, saying that evidently some were not satisfied with the way he was handling his job. He would go into great detail as to the work he was performing, and then he would say, "Now apparently some don't want me to handle things anymore," and that perhaps he should bring it all down here and turn it over to Ray Franz and let him handle it.
That sounds so childish, eh? Okay. I found it hard to believe that he could so totally miss the whole point of my comments, that I was expressing myself in favor of a body arrangement, not in favor of a transferal of authority from one individual administrator to another individual administrator. Each time I would explain this to him, making plain that what was said was never meant as any kind of personal attack, that I did not feel that any one individual should take on the responsibility under discussion, but rather that my understanding from the Bible and from the Watchtower was that they were matters for a body of persons to deal with. I said again and again that if it were a matter of one person handling everything, then he would be my choice, that I felt he was simply been doing what he felt he should do, and what had always been done in the past, that I had no complaint about his doing so. This did not seem to make any impression, however, and realizing that anything I said along this line would simply provoke anger, after a few attempts I gave up. On these occasions the remainder of the body members sat, observed, and said nothing. What happened a few years later, therefore, came as a surprise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the very fact that there was silence and it turned into a one man against one man is indicative of a very large problem, namely that the others were cowed into
didn't feel
submission.
Comfortable to say anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To change the status quo. Yeah. Well, I think we're putting in a link to a video we did on Ignatius. If you remember, In Search of Christian Freedom, in that book, Ray Franz talks a lot about Ignatius and the growth of the ministry or the office of the bishop in the early church. We've also spoken to that because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of that among its witnesses, as if that was the great apostasy kicking in around 100 AD. But we asked the question in our video, why must Jehovah's Witnesses ignore Ignatius? And that's a very easy question to answer if you know what's in those 7 authentic epistles of Ignatius. So why must they ignore Ignatius? Because he wrecks their apostasy, their great apostasy fiction. 100 AD, and he's saying something that no Jehovah's Witness wants to hear, coming from the mouth of one who was personally trained by the apostles. So we'll put that on your screen.
Yeah.
See you soon.